Hey, Eli. Sorry, I'm a little late for math lab today, but as you can tell, my voice just got worse. You know how it was kind of scratchy yesterday? Well, it's way worse today. So I'm a little late because I was trying to hope that I could have enough cough drops and water that I would not sound horrible in math lab. Hey, Mary Faith. Do you all want me just to work on the thing that we had from class yesterday? And do you want me to start at a specific place?
Yes, please. Can you work on number 5?
Number 5?
Yes, please.
Yes. How about you, Eli? Because I got an email from somebody that wants me to do 13 through 15. So I'm definitely doing those. And I know I'm starting at 5. Is there another one you would like for me to start with, or you want me to do one from every section?
10 through 12.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to do 5, and then I'm going to skip on to 10. Oh, oops. Write the slope-intercept form of the equation of the line through the given points. So the slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. And obviously, when you're given 2 points, you don't know the slope. That's the first thing we don't know. So we need to get that. And like I've said in class, oftentimes that's the best place to start on any of these problems is by finding slope. So when all else fails, you can kind of get started by doing that. That's the best thing to do. So we're going to take our y, our change in y, which is going to be our 2 y coordinates, which is 5 minus a minus 4, all over 0 minus a minus 3. So that's going to give us a 5 plus 4 on top and a 0 plus 3 on the bottom. So that gives us 9 over 3, which reduces to 3. So our slope is 3. Now, the next thing that we're going to do, we have our slope. The next thing that we're missing is we're missing our b, or our y-intercept. Those are the 2 things that we have to have in order to put an equation in slope-intercept form. You have to have the slope and you have to have the y-intercept. So we're going to pick one of our points, and I'm just going to, oh, actually, you know what? That is our y-intercept, isn't it? Because you've got a 0 in for the x. So we're actually given the y-intercept there. Do you see that? But would you like me to solve it just to show you how you do it?
Yes, please.
Okay. So what I would do is plug in, and you can either use point slope form or you actually can use this form and plug it back in. So you plug in 5 equals, and then 3 for our m, 0 for our x, plus b. Because remember, I always pick the easiest point. And when there's a 0 or a 1 in it, that's always the easiest, right? 5 equals 0 plus b. So 5 equals b. So now I have my b and I have my m. So I can substitute that back in to get it in slope-intercept form, which will look like y equals 3x plus 5. But remember, you have your y-intercept when you have an ordered pair that has 0 in for the x. But this is your final answer for number 5. So find your slope, find your y-intercept. So like if you guys are taking notes on the steps to follow to get your answer, good notes would be step 1, find slope. Step 2, select a point to plug into one of the equations. Solve for B, and then plug it back in. And your final answer should always have a Y and an X in it. Somewhere, somehow. Unless, I say that, unless it's a vertical or horizontal line. And if it's a horizontal line, it'll be a Y equals. And if it's a vertical, it'll be an X equals. Okay, were you all good with the number 7 through 9?
I wasn't completely sure on how to solve it.
On how to solve?
Yeah, like how
7?
to put it, I know how to solve it, but I don't know how to put it into an equation.
Okay.
If I know how to put it into an equation, I can figure it out.
Okay. Well, slope intercept. The two things that you need are slope and your y-intercept. What letter do we associate with the y-intercept?
B.
Correct. So once you have slope, then you use your slope intercept form, 5, like this one, and you use this point to find your B. So 5 equals, and then your slope is 1. Your X point on this ordered pair is 2 plus B.
Okay, I can solve it now.
So then once you have those two, you plug it back in. So you've got Y, and you always have to have a Y and an X in it. And my slope is 1. So you could write 1X just to, for this. Obviously, it's not going to be in one of your answer choices, but just to remind you that you're supposed to plug that back in. So it would be this right there. Okay, 10. And now I'm going to just start working forward and do 10 through 15, okay? Because those were the ones that was emailed about. Any more on those before I get started on 10? Okay. Write the point slope form of the equation of the line through the given point with the given slope. Okay. Point slope form. Y minus Y1 equals M times X minus X1. That's my point slope form. And in this form, this X is going to kind of be there at the very end, and this Y is going to be there at the very end. This particular one, that's kind of what you would use to substitute your point in for. When they have those little subscripts, those are your places that you substitute in for. When there's no subscript, that's going to be somewhere in your final equation. So these will show up in the final equation. Remember how I said that your final answer is going to have an X and a Y in it somewhere, whether it's in standard form, point slope form, or slope intercept. You're going to have an X and a Y somewhere. If you get all numbers in there, you know you've done something wrong because you need to have some variables in there, because the equation is supposed to be solved for any point on a line. And a lot of you guys had nothing but numbers in your final answers. And when you're asked to write something in a final form, it's going to have an X and a Y. All right, so we're supposed to write the point slope form of the equation of the line with the given point and the given slope. So we're given -6 and this point. Were you asking a question?
No, I was just saying hi.
Oh, hey, Grayson, how are you?
Good.
Good. Okay, so We're going to plug in this point that we're given. So y minus and then minus 2. What's that? Is that somebody's doorbell? Oh, cool doorbell. Negative 6 times x minus 1. So I'm plugging in this point right here, and I plugged in this slope. So now I'm going to simplify over on this side. Y minus a minus 2 is going to turn to y plus 2. And I'm going to distribute this negative 6 throughout the parentheses. So we've got negative 6x, and a negative 6 times a negative 1 is a positive 6. And now I'm going to get my constant to one side. Please y over here. So now I've got it to slope intercept, but that's, oh, Lord Jesus, help me. I was taking y'all through what I need to do down below, but it's way simpler than that. My apologies. Way simpler. I was thinking we were going to standard form. You can tell Miss Sparks doesn't feel good today in math lab. I should have stopped, actually, well beyond, and I shouldn't even have erased it. My bad. Please forgive me. Y minus 2. Math lab, take 2. Negative 6x minus 1. So if we would actually stop right here, guys. See that anywhere? That's all there is to this section. My apologies. I will do the next two to hopefully clarify all of that for you. So on this one, really all you're doing is plugging your point into the point slope form. That's it.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes when they're really easy and you've done all these complicated things, it's hard to go back. You saw that firsthand with Miss Sparks' sleepy self this morning. All right. So on this one, all we're going to do then is just simply plug in that point, number 11. We're going to have y minus 2 equals, plug in your slope, plug in your point. You're done. And once again, for number 12, I'm sorry.
You're done there? Oh.
That's it.
Oh, okay.
Then y minus 2 equals negative 2/3 x minus 3. Done. This is where I obviously was going on this last one. Write the standard form of the equation of each line. So standard form looks like this. X plus by equals C. All right, so what you're going to do is plug in, you're going to distribute this negative 3/5. So y plus 5 equals negative 3/5 x minus 5. So y plus 5, and you're going to distribute this negative 3x, 3/5, to both things inside the parentheses. Negative 3/5 times negative 5 equals negative 15/5. So that reduces to a positive 3. And now I'm going to combine my constants on both sides. That leaves me y equals negative 3/5 x minus 2. And I'm going to move my x to the other side. I can't just move it. I have to add it to both sides. Kind of running out of space, so I'm going to go up here, guys. All right. Now, that doesn't look like any one of our answers, does it? A, B, or C, or D. But remember what I said. Most algebra people, mathematicians, don't like a leading coefficient of a negative or a fraction. So they want a non-negative integer. So what you can do, and I know that y'all know about clearing the fractions by multiplying the whole thing by a reciprocal, which is 5/3. But in all honesty, that would give you fractions throughout the rest of it. So to make this really pretty all the way through, you could multiply everything by the denominator. So if I multiply every single thing by the denominator, that means I'd multiply everything by 5. And so that gives me 3/5 times 5, which gives me 3x. And 5 times y is 5y. And 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. So in that means that you're only multiplying one thing by the fraction, which I know makes y'all really, you're only multiplying one fraction, which I know that makes y'all very happy. The rest, you're just multiplying regular integers, which is really easy. And you can see that is one of your answers.
Can you figure that score up? Dying for it.
42.
Huh? Did you have a question, Eli?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Did everybody get this written down?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Grayson, did you get it?
Yes, ma'am. Thanks.
You're welcome. All right. Now I'm going to move on to number 14. So to write it in standard form, you want to distribute everything first. It takes me so long to erase. So I've got y minus 5 equals 3x minus 3. So the first thing I'm going to do is combine my constants. So that leaves me y equals 3x plus 2. Now I've got it to slope intercept form. So if they were asking for that, I'd be good to go. But they're asking for standard form. So that means I need to get my x's and my y's on the same side. So I can't just move it. I have to subtract it from both sides. So that gives me a negative 3x plus y equals 2. Now, Ms. Sparks says she'd be really happy if you left it here. But what could I do to make that front number a non-negative? Dog's
Multiply
answering.
by -1.
Did you say multiply everything by -1?
Yes, ma'am.
That's it. So that would just literally change all the signs to everything. So the -3x would be positive. The positive y would be negative. The +2 would be negative. So that would be your answer. But I'm okay either way. But I just want you guys to know that if you have a multiple guess choice like this, that if you don't get quote unquote the right answer, that you would have to go through some of the stuff that we just did on the other one. Which number 15 is going to be like that. Did everybody get this one down?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. How did y'all do on that one? Did everybody get it right?
Yeah.
Yay. At least one of the two answers? All right. I'm going to go ahead and start writing this up here. So y plus 4 equals 7/4 x. And then if I multiply 7/4 times 4/1, I'm going to do my side work. And that's going to give you 7/1 or 7. So I've distributed that 7/4 throughout the parenthesis. And so now I'm going to combine my constants. And now I've got it in slope-intercept form, but they're looking for standard form. So that means my x and my y needs to be on the same side of the equation. So I need to move my x variable. Can't just move it, though. I have to subtract it from both sides of the equation, which then gives me a -7/4 x plus y equals 3. Sorry about the messy writing. Okay, now I just want to multiply this by some integer that gets rid of my fraction. And you always, if everything else in the whole equation, wish I would have written smaller, is a whole integer, like the leading coefficient on the y is really a 1, and this is a 3. So what you want to kind of think of is if I multiply the entire equation by the denominator of the fraction, I'm going to get rid of the fraction.
Miss Sparks,
Yes.
is this step optional? Like,
it would be. It definitely would be if it wasn't multiple choice. If it's multiple choice, you're probably going to have to do this step. So if I I really feel like y'all need to be familiar with it. So if I multiply everything, and this is also a negative, so I need to multiply everything by a -4. So -4 times -7/4 just makes that a +7. -4 times 1y is a -4y. And -4 times 3 is -12. So there's your final answer. It's not that hard of a step, really. We need to really make sure that y'all are getting less and less afraid of fractions, because they're a huge part of high school math. So just being able to start recognizing the fact of clearing the fraction and getting rid of things just and think about it very simply in your mind, is really all you need to do is multiply everything by the denominator, and then you get a linear equation, which is much easier to deal with. But you can see is if Mrs. Sparks uses this format and I do a multiple choice test, no, this would not be an optional step, because more than likely you're going to have this as an answer. And I'm praying about that as a possibility for Friday. Because I think some of you actually know how to do all of this work. I just think when you see blank pieces of paper, panic seems to set in. So I'm praying about what is the most effective way for you all to express back to me all of the things that you know, because I can tell by how y'all answer in class and in math lab how much you guys know.
I think that it should all be multiple choice, but when it comes to standard form, it should be like written work.
Oh, well, I appreciate your input. And I will definitely take that into consideration. But I do like to know that you guys know how to clear these fractions, because like I say, I see even in my upper level classes that there's still some fear in fractions, and we just really need to try to break that a little bit if we can. Take the fear out. They're not that scary. I mean, you saw, I think even yesterday, I mean, you can still make mistakes on them. I do occasionally, I think, but we just need to not be afraid of them. All right. Number 16 and 17. Oh, praise the Lord for 16 and 17, right? Like, where were the days when we got to just do this? So you plot the x-intercept. You plot the y-intercept. And you connect the dots. Why are they this? Oh, no, that was a -5. Miss Sparks can't read either this morning. See, we all make mistakes. It just happens. You have to be very careful. Check your work. Double check your work. And then 1 and 5. Find the slope. Oh, we did all of these in class. We did all those in class. Y'all want to check your answers?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
There you go. I'm going to give y'all a minute to check your answers, and then if you got something wrong and you need Miss Sparks to go back, I can. Was this worksheet helpful for you guys to remind you of everything?
Yes.
Yes. I like this worksheet.
You did? Okay, good. We're doing another one very similar to it tomorrow in class. And that the review for Thursday will look similar to it as well. Eli, was this a better worksheet for you as far as how it was laid out and how it was asked? Was it helpful to kind of have like a multiple choice to kind of set the section forward?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Good. I'm glad. Is everybody working on their take-home quiz?
Say that again.
I said, is everyone working on their take-home quiz?
Yes.
Okay, good. And I think I only announced in 2 of my 3 classes, and I don't know who's here from one, but we will be working on that sheet tomorrow that you all can use for the test too. That's going to have all of our, you can take some notes on it to help yourself. You can make some personal notes, and then Miss Sparks is also going to tell you what exactly to write on them that you will need. And then if you need to make some personal notes for yourself for Friday, you know, because everybody kind of has those ways that they think personally about a problem. So you'll have some space to write some of those things down, and you can use that on Friday for the test.
Miss Sparks.
Yes, love.
For yesterday, it said that we were going to do page 261, 226. Is that the take-home quiz?
No, ma'am. You're in my first period, aren't you?
Right.
I posted the take-home quiz on Google Classroom.
Okay.
For you to print out because the printer jammed and they were working to get it fixed, and they didn't get it fixed until like 3rd period. So if you talk to your classmates, if you would let them know that it needs to be printed out, that would be great. I probably need to send an email because no, that isn't it. It's a different one.
Okay. So you want to do
the one on Google Classroom. I changed the lesson plan for that to be extra credit for anybody who wanted to have that extra credit for their daily grades because it's all parallel and perpendicular lines. And so but the quiz is everything else. So that's why I posted y'all's. It just, the printer got jammed. And so I didn't get them printed out. So, oh, that makes me nervous that people aren't going to know that. So I need to definitely send an email out this morning.
So do you want us to do page 261, 1 through 26 all, as well as like today's stuff? I'm just making sure.
No, you only have to, that is an optional assignment.
Okay.
That is for extra credit only.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you for asking. And if you had questions about it, I know that others did too. So I don't know who you know in there, but if you can kind of get the word out that 1 through 26 is optional for extra credit, and that the take-home quiz is on Google Classroom, because I know some students turn off their notifications for Google Classroom.
I can email our class.
That would be wonderful. I'll email them, you email them. So maybe between the 2 of us, we'll get the word out.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your help on that, Reese.
You're welcome.
What pages are extra credit again?
Page 261, numbers 1 through 26, all. It's, and actually that wouldn't even be, that's not even going to be, well, it would be due Friday. So you could, you know, even like if you did 4 or 5 problems a day between now and then, 3, no, you'd have to do a little more than that, 9 problems a day. But it's on parallel and perpendicular lines, which would be great practice. If I'm not mistaken, I think 13 through 17. I can't remember the exact numbers, but they're the longest take the most time. How did y'all do on this? Did everybody get their answers checked?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. How did y'all do?
Good.
Well, good. Does anybody want me to do a few from page 261? I can definitely do that in Math Lab. And we have about 20 more minutes. So if y'all want me to do some of them, I can do some of them with you. But if y'all need to move on to another subject matter because y'all are swamped today, I understand that too.
Can you do number 4 on the quiz? Oh, wait, no, that's a quiz, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am. I can't do anything on the quiz. I can only do it on the worksheet or page 261.
I forgot it was a quiz and not a worksheet.
That'll be fine.
Yes. But I can do page 261 or I can do, I can rework one of these problems.
Can you do some on 261?
Absolutely.
Bye, Miss Sparks. Thank you.
You're most welcome, sweetheart. Have a good day.
You too.
All right. If you want me to start with number one, I can. Copy and complete. 2 lines in a plane are blank if they intersect to form a right angle. Have any guesses? I don't want to embarrass anybody, so that is perpendicular. The answer to that is perpendicular. 2 lines in a plane are perpendicular if they intersect to form a right triangle. Explain, number 2, explain in writing how you can tell whether 2 lines are perpendicular given the equations of the lines. You can tell if 2 lines are perpendicular if their slopes are opposite, reciprocals of each other. Opposite reciprocals of each other. For example, and you don't have to write this if you don't want to, but if you wanted to say m equals 3, the perpendicular slope to that would be m equals negative 1/3. But just trying to give you an example. But their slopes are opposite reciprocals. Okay? All right. Number 3. Are you good with me moving on?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Write an equation of the line that passes through the given point and is parallel to the given line. I'm trying to pull up my book and my other computer. Let me see if I can. Negative 1, 3. Y equals 2x plus 2. Okay, so a parallel line has the same slope. Can you tell me what the slope is for this line?
2.
Yay. Good job. So now what I'm going to do is plug in my point into my slope-intercept form. So 3 equals 2 times -1 plus b. I'm going to leave this out because the thing that makes the line different is where they intersect the y-intercept or the b. So now I'm going to solve for b. And now I have my b and I have my slope, which I know the slopes of parallel lines are the same. So I'm going to plug it back in. And remember, my answer is going to have an x and a y in it. And it's saying put it in slope-intercept form. So that's y equals mx, which my m is 2, plus b. So my final answer is this. Number 4. 6 and 8. And then the equation is y equals -5 halves x plus 10. So I'm going to plug in what's my slope here? Anybody here?
-5 halves x.
Yep. -5 halves. Okay, so I'm going to plug that into my equation. 8 along with my point. -5 halves times 6 plus b. Because what makes them different is the b, is the y-intercept. The slope is the same, but the y-intercept is different. So I'm going to simplify before I multiply. So I've got 8 equals, and then -5 times 3 is -15 plus b. And now I'm going to add 15 to both sides. So 23 equals b. So now I have my slope and I have my y-intercept, so I can plug it back into my slope-intercept form. Y equals -5 halves x plus 23 is my final answer. So my final answer is still going to have an x and a y in it, and it's going to have the same slope with a new y-intercept or a new b. I'm erasing, and I didn't really think about asking. You guys good? You good, Eli?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Reese, did you get it down too? I don't know who else still with me. You did not?
I did it, but it's good. I'm good. It's good.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry, love. Please stop me.
It's fine.
Okay. Who else is with me?
I'm Bailey.
Oh, hey, Bailey, did you get it written down, honey?
Yes, ma'am.
Yay. How are you today?
I'm good.
Good. Okay, number 5. 5, -1. And then y equals -3/5 x minus 3. So I know that my slope is going to be the same on parallel lines. So I already know my slope is going to be -3/5. So now I'm going to take my point, my ordered pair, and plug it into this equation. So -1 goes in for y. Then I'm going to write down my slope. 5 goes in for my x. And then I'm going to write plus b because my b is going to be different on this line. So I need to find out what the b is. So -1. Simplify before you multiply if you can. So 5 goes into 5 one time. -3 times 1 is -3. Now I'm going to add 3 to both sides to isolate b. Gives me a +2 equals b. So now I have everything I need to get it into slope-intercept form, which I'm just going to go ahead and rewrite it at the top, just all the reminders I possibly can for you guys. So in my final answer, I'm going to have a y and an x, but I'm going to use my slope for my m, -3/5, x plus 2. It's got my new b. So these two lines are parallel. All right, number 6. -1, 2, and then y equals 5x plus 4. So my slope is 5, and the slope of parallel lines is the same. So I'm going to plug in my point to find my new b, or new y-intercept. So 2 goes in for y. -1 goes in for x plus b. 5 times -1 is -5. Add 5 to both sides to isolate b. And my new b is 7. So I take my new b and my slope, which is the same on parallel lines, plug it back into the equation. Y equals 5x plus 7. And that's my final answer for number 6. Do you all want me to keep doing these types, or would you like me to skip ahead to number 12, where you have to determine which lines are parallel and perpendicular? I can continue doing the rest of these, or I can start there. What's your preference?
I'm fine with whatever.
Okay. Reese or Bailey, do you have a preference?
No, ma'am.
How about you, Bailey?
You can move on.
Okay. All right. So just so that this way y'all have some differences. That way you can do 7, 8, 9. Trying to think. If I go back to do one, I might do number 8 because the answer has a fraction in it. So I'll help you guys with that one. But I thought I'm going to start with 12. And we're going to talk about it for just a minute. Let me switch back over. Okay, parallel or perpendicular lines. Determine which lines, if any, are parallel or perpendicular. So look at number, we're going to start with obviously number 12. And the line A is this. Y equals 4x minus 2. B is y equals negative 1/4 x. And C is y equals negative 4x plus 1. Okay, so the slope, these are all in slope-intercept form. So that's really what you want to get it in when you're looking at parallel. I mean, you could obviously put it in point slope or slope intercept, but you want something. You don't want it in standard form for sure. You want one of the forms that has the slope shown. And slope intercept is probably the most common that people use. The slope for this one is 4. Actually, let me do something. I'm going to change the color when I write the slope. The slope for this one is 4. The slope for this one is negative 1/4. And the slope for this one is negative 4. So parallel lines have the same slope. Do any of these lines have the same slope?
No.
No. So there's no parallel lines. Good job. Perpendicular, remember I showed y'all this shortcut yesterday so you don't have to write out perpendicular. Yay! Perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes. Do any of these lines have opposite reciprocal slopes?
Yes.
Which two?
A and B.
Good job. So A and B are perpendicular because these two are opposite reciprocals. All right. We're going to take a look at number 13. Because we have to actually put some of these in to slope intercept form in order to be able to tell what the slopes are. So that's a good practice to get into. And that's why the first part of this chapter you're working with all of the different forms because all of them have a purpose in math and how you use them. Number 13, line A is y equals 3/5 x plus 1. Line B is 5y equals 3x minus 2. And line C, I'm leaving myself some room to change that, is 10x minus 6y equals -4. So line A, the slope is 3/5. We don't know what the slope is for line B yet because it's not completely in any form at all. But to get it in slope-intercept form, I would divide everything by 5. So that would give me y equals 3/5 x minus 2/5. So the slope for this one is 3/5 because now this is in slope-intercept form. Now down here, this is in standard form. It's beginning in standard form, and I want to get it to slope-intercept form. So I'm going to subtract my 10x from both sides. Because I'm trying to get y all by itself. And now I've got to divide everything by 6 to isolate y, -6. -10 divided by -6 is a positive 5/3. -4 divided by -6 is a positive 2/3. So the slope for this one did I do that right? Oh. Yeah. Is 5/3. They are tricking y'all for sure. Okay. Are any of these lines parallel? They would have the same slope. Are any of them parallel?
Yes.
Which two are parallel?
A and B.
A and B. Are any perpendicular?
No.
No. You're absolutely right. Good call. It looked like C was going to be close, though, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where you have to be really, really careful. Because we got the reciprocal part, but they're not opposite. And they have to be opposite reciprocal. These two are parallel because they're the same. This lacks a negative sign in order to be truly perpendicular to the other because it has to be opposite reciprocal. Does that make sense to you guys? Mm-hmm. Okay, good.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you all get this? Okay, good. Did you all get this all written down?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How about you, Bailey and Reese?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Do y'all want me to go back to do number 8 with the fraction in it, or would you like me to do one more of these with you guys? Or are y'all ready to go? I'll let y'all make the call. I'm here for you guys. Or do you have questions about something else? Any preferences? I'm sorry, what did you say, sweetie?
Is the take-home quiz for today like an actual quiz?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, making sure.
It is an actual quiz. I am taking the average of your quiz on Friday and the average of the take-home quiz. If you need it, I won't let it hurt you. It will only help you. So like if you are happy with your grade and it doesn't bring the take-home quiz doesn't bring your grade up, I'll leave it as is. If the take-home quiz helps your grade and I see that you're understanding it better, then I'll let it go in. But let's say you made an 80 on the quiz on Friday and you make 100 on the take-home quiz. That would make your grade, your quiz grade for Friday 90.
Okay.
Okay. If you made a 70 on the take-home quiz Friday and you made 100 on the take-home quiz, then you would get an 85. So it's only there to help and to help you guys be able to really understand the material prior to the test, because that's what quizzes are, really is a to let me know what you know and to let me know what I need to emphasize in order to make you guys really understand the material and master the concept. So that's the ultimate goal for me, is to have you guys master the concept, because these are definitely concepts that will you will use in geometry for sure, slopes and parallel and perpendicular lines, all of the various formats, the point slope and the slope intercept form for sure. But parallel and perpendicular lines for sure in geometry. They're actually in a lot of proofs and things like that. So it's a very, very important concept to understand. So mastering it is my reason for that. Number 4, I can either do number 14. I have time for one more, unless you guys want to go. I can do 14 or 8. What's the vote of the group?
Doesn't really matter to me.
Okay. How about you, Eli? You got a preference? Bailey, you have a preference?
I would like
Okay.
14.
Okay. All right. Then I'm going to go with 14. All right. Number 14. Line A is y equals 3x plus 6. B is 3x plus y equals 6. And C is 3y equals 2x plus 18, I believe. Okay. So the slope for A is 3. B, we don't know what the slope is yet, because we have to get 3x. We have to get y by itself. So we have y equals negative 3x plus 6. So the slope for this one is negative 3. And on this one, to get y all by itself so that we know where the slope is, we divide everything by 3. So we have y equals 2/3 x plus 6. All right. So the slope for this one is 2/3. All right. Do we have any? Hold on. Sorry, my family was talking like really loud. I was like, oh my gosh. Okay. Slope for A is 3. Slope for B is -3. And slope for C is 2/3. Okay. Are any of them alike or the same?
No.
Or parallel? Nope. So parallel, none. Are any of them opposite reciprocals?
No.
Nope. So perpendicular, none. So we have no parallel, no perpendicular. And what you need to do for each of these in order to ensure them is to get them into slope-intercept form. And that means y is going to be all by itself with no leading coefficient. So we did, I think we did 1 through 6 and 12 through 14. So we've done 9. And I think as I broke it down for Eli earlier, we needed to do about 9 a day for you guys to be on target to get this turned in as extra credit. So if you guys work on 9 tomorrow, we'll work on 9 in math lab maybe on Thursday then. So you guys should be good to go and have this extra credit and great reviews for the test on Friday. Thank you all for working so hard. I really appreciate it. Thank you for showing up for math lab. You all have a blessed day.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.